Most people have seen a picture of a yurt, a round tent on a hill, somewhere far away. Exotic, primitive, interesting for a moment, and then forgotten. But what if everything you assumed about that picture was wrong? What if that round felt structure is not primitive? What if it is one of the most sophisticated living spaces ever designed by human beings? Today, we are going inside the Mongolian Yurt, called a gers in Mongolian, meaning simply home, has been the primary dwelling of the Mongolian people for over 3,000 years. Not a shelter of last resort, not a temporary structure. Home, the place where children are born, where elders die, where families eat, sleep, pray, and gather through summers that reach 40 degrees and winters that drop to -40. The same structure, both seasons, without modification, without failure. This is the first thing that most people do not understand about the gers. It is not a compromise. It is a masterpiece. Step inside. The first thing you notice is the light, the toono, the circular crown at the very top of the gers, opens to the sky. In the morning, light enters at a specific angle. By midday, it falls in a different place. By evening, somewhere else entirely. The Mongolian nomad reads this light the way most people read a clock. No watch needed, no phone. The sky tells time through a hole in the roof that also functions as a chimney, a skylight, a ventilation system, and a spiritual connection to the sky above. One opening, 4 functions. The walls are made of a lattice framework called kana, wooden panels, crisscrossed, that fold completely flat for transport and expand into a rigid circular wall that locks into itself under tension. No nails, no screws, no bolts, no tools required. The structure is held together by the physics of tension and compression, the same principles used in suspension bridges and aerospace engineering. Over the kana go layers of felt, made from sheep's wool, compressed and matted into thick panels. Felt breathes. Felt regulates moisture. Felt traps air in millions of tiny pockets, creating insulation that passive house architects are still trying to replicate with modern materials. In summer, the lower edges of the felt are rolled up. Air flows freely underneath. The interior stays 15 to 20 degrees cooler than the air outside. No air conditioning, no electricity, physics. In winter, everything closes. The felt seals, the central stove burns, and inside the gers, at -40 outside, a family sleeps in relative warmth. The interior of the gers is not random. Every direction, every position has a meaning. The door always faces south. This is not tradition for tradition's sake. A south-facing door in the Mongolian steppe catches maximum sunlight in winter and avoids the prevailing north wind. 4,000 years before passive solar design became an architectural concept, the Mongolian gers was already doing it. The northern side, directly opposite the entrance, is Koimor, the place of honor. Honored guests sit there. Important objects are kept there. Spiritual items, family photographs, the most precious things. The western side is for men. Saddles, tools, equipment for the horses. The eastern side is for women. The kitchen, food storage, the cradle, the center, where the stove stands. is the heart of the home. The fire inside is sacred. You never step over it. You never point your feet toward it while sleeping. You never throw rubbish into it. Every position in the ger, every direction, has meaning. When a Mongolian nomad enters their ger, after a long day on horseback, they are not just entering a building, they are entering a universe that makes sense. The ger can be assembled by an experienced family in under 2 hours, not 2 days, not 2 weeks, 2 hours. The entire structure, including all furniture, all felt panels, all wooden framework, fits onto the backs of a small number of camels or into the back of a single truck. When the family needs to move, they move. When the pasture is better somewhere else, they go there. No mortgage to consider, no landlord to notify, no moving company to hire, no lease to break. They simply go. This is the freedom that the ger enables, not the freedom of having more options, the freedom of having no unnecessary attachments, the freedom of owning your home completely for a one-time cost of $2,000 to $3,000 and never paying for it again. Compare that to a city apartment in Ulaanbaatar, which costs $50,000 to $100,000 and requires decades of payments. The GER is paid for, completely, forever. Life inside the ger has a rhythm. It begins before sunrise. The stove is lit first, always first, because without heat, nothing else is possible. The tea is made. Salty milk tea, cold tsai, drunk from a bowl, before anything else happens, before conversation, before work, before the day begins. This is not a tradition performed for visitors. This is how a body wakes up, in a place where the cold is real, and warmth is something you create, not something you assume. Breakfast follows. Simple. Dairy, meat, bread, whatever the animals provided, whatever was preserved from the season before. Then the work begins. The horses need checking. The livestock need moving. The pasture needs reading. Every day, the nomadic family reads the land, the sky, the behavior of the animals, to understand where to go, what is coming, what needs to be done. This is not simple work. It requires more knowledge than most university degrees provide. Knowledge of weather, of animal behavior, of land management, of navigation without instruments, of survival in conditions that have no margin for error. In the evening, the family returns to the ger. The stove is reloaded. The tea is made again. Dinner is shared. And then, something happens that has become rare. In most of the world, people talk, not at screens, not through devices, to each other, in the same room, around the same fire. The elders tell stories. The children listen. The knowledge that keeps this family alive passes from one generation to the next, in the same way it has always passed. Not through books, not through schools, through the act of sitting together in a round felt home and paying attention. The ger has survived everything. Genghis Khan built an empire and lived in a ger. The Soviet era tried to replace the ger with permanent housing and largely failed. The 21st century arrived with smartphones and supermarkets, and the ger is still there, still round, still felt, still assembled in 2 hours, still pointing south, still warm at -40. But something is changing. Young Mongolians are moving to Ulaanbaatar. The capital city has grown dramatically in recent decades. as nomadic families seek schools, hospitals, economic opportunity around the edges of the city in areas called gers districts. Former nomads have done something strange. They built fences around small plots of land, and inside each fence, they placed their ger, not an apartment, not a house, their gear. They brought their home with them, but lost the space around it. The gers district families burn coal through the winter, creating a layer of smog that makes Ulaanbaatar one of the most polluted cities on Earth. For months at a time, they chose the worst of both worlds. They left the steppe, but they did not fully enter the city. And increasingly, some of them are going back. Young people who grew up in Ulaanbaatar, who studied in universities, who worked office jobs, are returning to the steppe, not because they have to, because they want to. They speak of disconnection, of spending their lives in boxes, stacked on top of other boxes, surrounded by strangers. And they speak of the ger with something that sounds like grief. The round felt home on the Mongolian steppe is not a relic. It is not a museum piece. It is not a tourist attraction. It is a living answer to a question we forgot we were asking. How do you build a home that truly belongs to you? How do you live in a space that makes sense in every direction? How do you create a place where the fire is sacred and every position has meaning and the sky is always visible through a hole in the roof? The Mongolian nomads have been answering these questions for 3,000 years, and they are still here, still inside their gers, still warm, still pointing south, still waking up to light that enters through the toono and tells them exactly what time it is. If this way of life speaks to something in you, if you have ever looked at your four walls and wondered what lies beyond them, subscribe to Hidden Ways of Living. Every week, we go deeper. The Inuit hunters, the Maasai warriors, the Bedouin wanderers, the Amish, and now the Mongolian ger. They are still out there, and their stories are waiting for you.